Let me ask you this. So, talking about eHEX here, I think this is a good question from Breath. Do you think eHEX will reach previous all-time high of 50 cents, like 50 to 55 cents? That's an interesting one because, of course, you've got the split now, and Hex, the real Hex. The market has chosen Hex on Pulse Chain, so
Mhm.
it obviously is out there. I personally, as far as this cycle, I would not be expecting eHex to hit that. I think we would see something like, I do think the ratio between the two is going to close a lot, closer than it is right now as things start to pick up. But I think we would probably see more something like, I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm more so concerned about talking about the ratio than I am price. But I think something more like, I don't know, 50-cent hex and then a 25-cent e-hex or something like that. Or, I mean, the ratio closer than it is now, certainly. But I don't know. What say you, Ewok? I mean, I know you're Mr. Perma Bull. Well, I guess we're all Perma Bulls, but you're Mr. Perma Big Time Bull. So, yeah, what do you make of this?
I think it could very well if the liquidity doesn't improve. Now, when I say doesn't improve, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But there is very low liquidity for eHEX right now. There's a lot of liquidity for PHEX. So I think it can. I think it could get to 50 cents. And if that's the case, though, I do see Hex on Pulse Chain getting to over $1. Now, again, it's just going to be very dependent on liquidity. It's going to be dependent on um, ratios, how much of it does get locked up. As things go up, it also entices people to create stakes.
Yeah.
So it's a chain reaction. It's a snowball that kind of gets started. Liquidity gets pulled out a little bit, and things run a little bit harder. There's not very much of it for sale. I think there's less than I read earlier somewhere that somebody, and I didn't verify it, so I'm not sure how close it was, but there's only a billion hex for sale, which isn't
E-hex.
much.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you remember, which many people don't, the adoption amplifier, the very first day hex was released, it released a billion. Every day after that, for 360 days, it released 500 million tokens every single day. So a billion isn't much. It's a couple days of that adoption amplifier or the very first day it was launched. So you know it could run really hard really fast. Now, again, because of the low liquidity, there could be people sitting on liquid too that dump the price and try to get out. But again, that's going to make it even lighter. It could do some crazy things. I think we are underestimating what it can really do. You got to remember, this is Richard's baby. Like, Hex is his first creation. All of this other stuff was just built around it to support it.
Hmm.
Um, he wanted to also have a better layer one, a better decentralized exchange where you can't remove people. You can't unlist somebody. So there's a lot of those type of things that were happening in Ethereum that he wanted to fix. And again, all of this was to support Hex. So don't be surprised if it does some crazy, crazy things again. It really can. From the low that we were at, it could do another 10,000x, and that is really possible, I think. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a good comment by Joffis here. Yeah, they can decrease liquidity to make the price pump during FOMO and easily hit 50 cents. I mean, yeah, that can happen. And as Ewok said, I mean, it doesn't take much to make the price of that move. So,
Mm-mm.
and we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it with both hexes really as they start to pump up here a little bit. And the same thing that you said, Ewok, we're already seeing those staking numbers start to go up, like as soon as things start to move up. So,
Yep.
um, I think we're going to end up not getting to like half the stuff that we wrote down for the show tonight because all these conversations are so good and lead off to all these great offshoots right now. The thing you were saying a minute ago about like a narrative for this cycle, and we do usually see, every cycle there's something, and the last one it was DeFi, like 2020 was DeFi summer, went into 2021, just all this crazy DeFi yield and different platforms. Phantom was a big one, just everybody trying to earn yield and stuff through DeFi. And this cycle, we were talking about it the other night, there really hasn't been some kind of like, this is the obvious narrative. Like, of course, there's AI out there, but I mean, in terms of like linking it to crypto, it's really just been like coins that, here's the thing, it's just like everything that we bag on all the time that isn't Hex or Pulse Chain or anything like that. It's just heavily VC backed projects that you don't really know what they are, and they slap the name AI on it, and you go from there. We've seen that with AI. There's a lot of people that want to talk about like real world assets and stuff like that, which, I mean, could you give me a more boring thing? I mean, like, the whole point of people being in crypto, I mean, is to get away from stuff like that. And they're not, it isn't sexy. Whatever it is, I mean, yeah, maybe it's a great product, but it doesn't sound very nice. And people aren't really flocking to that. You mentioned the other night to be gaming, Ewok. That, isn't really a thing this time. I mean, that kind of already was. Meme coins are still out there and doing well. I mean, I guess like that could be a thing. But in terms of like some kind of like real creation, maybe this market is just, these are signs of maturity now, where it's like, okay, we're getting to the point where like the real products are being built or have been built, and we're sifting through the crap that really doesn't matter, and we're starting to more easily identify what is just kind of a fraudulent, scammy type thing that people aren't really going to be interested in versus what's real. And maybe there can be a DeFi 2.0 thing. Maybe just people come back to DeFi. I don't know, but I mean, what's your read on it? Because I haven't really seen anything specific that sticks out as a narrative. And again, yeah, like you're saying, I mean, like maybe people will come back to these DeFi narratives again this cycle.
Well, and I hope they do, because honestly, what is more? You go back to trust in our country right now, and I believe it's probably at an all-time low. People don't trust the government. They don't trust the media. They don't trust doctors for medical advice. They don't trust. There's so much lack of trust. Well, what can you trust more than a audited, locked smart chain or blockchain? You know what I mean? Or a smart contract. I think people. You said it before. I think the maturity is getting to the point where people are going to realize what the smart way to do it is, and to take this out of people's hands, put it into smart contracts, and make it work, where it can just run without people deciding, because people are crooked, people are corruptible, but a smart chain isn't. And you've got to have the developers that are willing to do it. You've got to have the people that are willing to get out of the way, and create something that removes the middleman. And I hope to see a lot more of that. Hex was one of the first ones that I've seen where the staking protocol does remove the middleman. You're not giving it to anybody. You're not doing anything. You're holding it in your own wallet. You're keeping in control of everything like that. And I just hope this cycle brings us more of those things. I think that would still be the extension of the last cycle. Because like you said, there isn't anything. And, we talk about games all the time. They're going to come out with trying to make games that are on the blockchain or things like that. They just don't have any staying power. And again, with the AI thing, well, what is AI than a really wonderfully written smart contract? that is AI in itself, right? So, that's my hope. That's my hope for this cycle, that we get an extension of some of the things that Richard kind of came out with last cycle. Back to the foundation, and the reason blockchain was invented in the first place was to get rid of some of these middlemen and take the control out of their hands and put it into a smart contract where, again, it's not corruptible, it's not influenceable. There's just so many positive things and benefits that can come out of it. So that's my hope anyway.